What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files. This week, for episode number 314, we have some clips from another podcast that I run because this one got a little corrupt and we didn't have time to record a new one. So, we're talking about Caitlin Clark getting left off Team USA, and we're talking about the NBA Finals and the potential of a sweep. So, let's get into the intro music before we talk a little bit more.
Welcome to the Atlantic Files, where humor and vibes collide. Nets and Sixers, the king of the court. Jokes that hit you one more. Atlantic Division, we own the scene. Comedy, food talk, every routine. Mike Bash, Clausen, Fischbein on the mic, making you laugh every episode right. Game is strong, court to kitchen. We're never wrong. You know what time it is. It's time for the Atlantic Files.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your host, myself, Alex Fischbein. And this week, as I said before, file got a little corrupt. Didn't have time to record a new one. So there's another podcast that I run with my friend called Tom Deasy. Named Tom Deasy. He has been on this pod as well, but we run our own called Sideline Specialists. It has a little bit more of a focus on the NFL. However, we talk about all sports. So I grabbed a couple clips from that one because we talked about Caitlin Clark being left off of Team USA and not going to the Olympics, and kind of the whole discourse surrounding everything going on with Caitlin Clark so far in the WNBA. And then we talked about the NBA Finals because obviously right now the Celtics are up 3-0. It's really looking like a sweep. The Mavericks defense has no answers. The Mavericks offense definitely has no answers. And so here we are on the brink of really not that exciting of an NBA Finals. The rest of the postseason, it's honestly been great. I've enjoyed this entire postseason. It's just the finals that really haven't been all that great. And I believe there was a stat, and I think I said it in one of the clips, but I believe there was a stat that said this has the potential to have the second highest average point diff in a finals for the winning team after Golden State when they had Kevin Durant and they beat Cleveland. So we will get into all of that. If you guys enjoy our show and you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe, hit the like button. It lets you know, lets us know that you enjoy what we're doing. Even leave us some comments. We love talking hoops, so definitely reach out. And if you hit the bell, it lets you know when we go live as well. So that is always, we are always grateful for that too. And we are everywhere to get your audio podcast: Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever Google changed to now. You know, all the audio platforms, we're on there. So check us out there as well. So without further ado, thank you guys for watching. We will be back, the Atlantic Files, with myself, probably Dennis, probably Mike. We will be back next week with a fresh new episode of the Atlantic Files. So in the meantime, hope you enjoy these clips. I'll catch you guys next week. Peace. So we can just kind of breeze through that first. Let me bring up the bracket for those watching back home. For those that, might not be keeping up with the NBA because you might be here for NFL or whatever it may be. Obviously, the Celtics are facing the Mavericks in the finals. Celtics just went up 3-0 after last night. I was hoping that the Mavs would at least make it a little interesting after Porzingis was confirmed to be injured and probably not playing for the rest of the finals. Yep. Especially after the fact that he had so much rest, and then in game one, he just went crazy and dropped 20 points coming off the bench. And it was just like, shit, if Porzingis is healthy for the finals, it's going to be a sweep. But now, even without Porzingis, it's going to be a sweep.
I know. And it's it's really disappointing because this was like that Kyrie's facing his former team where there was a lot of drama, Luka finally made the finals. And I say finally, as though he's been here for a million years, but it was like we were waiting for this playoff stretch from the Mavs. Like we've been waiting for it for a few years now because we know the talent he possesses, and then obviously they've put some more around him. But then to see it's like the Celtics are 15-2. I mean, it's pretty unreal. Obviously, like I'm not gonna say they had the easiest like route ever. I'm not gonna say that because like this postseason, just like injuries happen. This is the way sports goes. We all understand this. I think if Jimmy Butler had been available for the Heat in the first round, that series would have looked different because he always plays the Celtics harder than any other player in the NBA.
Right.
And then the second round, if the Cavs are fully healthy every single game and able to, like they needed better matchups, but then it's the thing you and I have discussed repeatedly. The Celtics are the deepest team by miles, and that's why you build for depth so that if anybody's missing, you have somebody else that has the chemistry already and they can come in and help you win, and they're winning. I mean, it's just this was overdue too. The Celtics have literally been knocking on this door for years now, and it's like they're gonna break it because their talent is just insane. So
Yeah. I mean, Jason Tatum finally had a big scoring night last night. And the first two games, he was shooting poorly, still getting his hand in the game with rebounds and assists and so on. But like, they haven't even needed Tatum really to score much until last night. And
you had the Drew Holiday blow up game that was just like I saw those numbers. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like anybody is contributing here.
Yep.
And that's how they designed this thing. So
yeah. And at this point of the series, my vote for Finals MVP is going to be Jaylen Brown right now.
Yeah,
I think he's been the most consistent and the top guy. But not only that, but like seems to be the most vocal leader of the team too.
Yeah.
So like by far, I would pick Jaylen Brown as the Finals MVP at this moment. And it also kind of sucks because like obviously Luka is a little banged up. They had him all like wrapped up before the last game. But like Jason Kidd, I think deserves a good bit of criticism right now because it doesn't seem like there's that many adjustments he's even trying to make. Like obviously the defense that you deployed against, you know, the Clippers or the Thunder or the Timberwolves on your way to the finals is not going to be the one that works against Boston because Boston is deeper than any three of those teams.
Exactly.
They play a better version of team basketball. Their defense is right up there, honestly, with probably the Timberwolves and the Thunder and the Clippers. And so there has to be some sort of change defensive wise, especially because like Luka Doncic is just getting blown by all the time. And I know there are defensive schemes where it's like, hey, challenge him on the first look, but then let him through and funnel him to our big men. But even then, you're funneling and then you're leaving guys wide open for three. So with a team like the Celtics, who can hit threes at a ridiculous clip, like even Horford has had a game where he hit 6 threes. There isn't enough room to like give those guys wide open looks and still be able to win the game. So something has to change. You're going to game 4. You're down 3-0. No NBA team has come back from a 3-0 deficit. You might as well just try something else. I mean, they at least threw Tim Hardaway Jr. in the last game, but that dude is one of the streakiest scorers in the league. So throwing him in for one game isn't really going to yield you much because that guy has to get on into a rhythm to actually do something. So, yeah, I mean, Boston pretty much has this one in hand, but
yeah, and it is a shame because we were genuinely waiting for like a competitive finals. It seemed like it could be, and then as soon as it started, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
To be honest, like in the Minnesota Dallas series, there were some like couple point games, and you were like, oh, that could have gone either way. And this series has been just Celtics the entire time.
Right.
And, I mean, without Porzingis, and they still win by 7. It's just like it's chalked.
Yeah, I saw a
It's
stat.
chalked, so.
I saw a stat that someone posted on Threads. I forget who it was, but they said they were ranking like the average point differentials for each game in the finals for each series, and the biggest blowout was Golden State over Cleveland when they got Kevin Durant. It was like an average of like close to 11 points per game spread in each game. And this one, if the Celtics win by, I think it was like 15 or more in the next game, would be the second most ever in a average point diff. So,
Yeah, and I
not
think
good.
it'll be one of the better postseasons in history, to be honest, if you think about it. Because like if they were to sweep, they'd finish 16-2, which
Yeah.
to basically make like you made and won the finals in a total of 18 games. Like that would be unbelievably impressive.
Right.
And I would have to just tip my cap to them, because I know it's a franchise that's won a million championships, but this one would feel pretty damn impressive. So
For sure.
all right,
But
we're doing hockey. Is that what
yeah, I was about to say, with that being all right, this has been a lot. This has been a lot. The entire internet has gone ablaze with Caitlin Clark mania, not just from her college days, but now that she's in the WNBA. Before we get to the Olympic part, I just want to talk about the part where everyone is talking about how, like, so Angel Reese had an interview where she's like, look, like, everyone's watching the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark, but it's also because of us. Like, we're also here too. We also make it entertaining. And she referenced herself, which, like, yeah, you should speak for yourself, because obviously nobody else is. And people roasted her for this, even though Angel Reese is a big rival of Caitlin Clark, and a lot of people love that rivalry.
It's like if you watched any of the college games, like you would have seen these two facing off.
Exactly.
For, like years in a row, deep in tournaments when it all mattered. Like this is when Caitlin Clark became what she was, because Reese beat her, and then Clark had to get revenge, and it's just like, okay, you got revenge on LSU, and then you ran into the juggernaut that is the South Carolina. But it's like,
right,
that was part of what made this whole thing such a big ticket. Is it was not only was Caitlin Clark good, it's like her competitors were good, and they're also worth noting because they all built this shit. It like completely. Angel Reese is phenomenal.
Yep.
Cameron Brink is phenomenal. Like it's not just a one woman show here. But the media does this thing where they grab one person and kind of make them this like messiah of a subject almost.
Yes.
And Clark was in this case the one elevated to that. And she's very good, but it was one of those like, this needs to be a shared representation of what women's basketball can be now that all of these players are going into the pros. So I like from that stance, I'm fully behind Angel Reese just stepping up and being like, hey, like we're all here and we all did this shit together. Stop singling out this one person who's on a team that's, by the way, 3-10. They're winning right now, but like that's another thing too. It's like I get that the attendance has gone up to a crazy degree. I love that. It needs to go up everywhere because all these people need to care way more about the sport rather than just Caitlin Clark. And that's why it's so frustrating too, because I know we're going to talk about the Olympic stuff. It's like the thing I had open, the ESPN one. It just says USA Basketball cites inexperience for Caitlin Clark omission from Olympics is the tagline. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. But like, you probably maybe want her there unless you're giving us that reason because there's other things you think behind closed doors.
Right.
So I wish it was just one of those, like, be transparent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But my whole thing too is the thing that has just pissed me off watching everything kind of unfold is the fact that like people are mad that like the veterans and everything are going at her like and they're like giving her welcome to the league moment and they're just like they're not like taking them under their wing and stuff like that and everyone's saying like oh you should be thanking Caitlin for getting you guys charter flights and like getting you guys sellouts and things like that. The Aces have sold out a lot before Caitlin Clark. The Seattle Storm have sold out multiple seasons
Yeah.
before Caitlin Clark. Like there are teams that have done very well pre Caitlin Clark. Are there more sales and things like that now with Caitlin Clark? Yes. And Caitlin Clark is a very good player. She will probably be amazing as time goes on. And I'm not putting her down as a player whatsoever. But the fact that people are just sitting here and saying like, "Oh, they should be thanking her. They should be doing this." Like, "Oh yeah, they're just gonna mid-game get on one knee and be like, please, Caitlin, go get a layup because thank you for paying for flights." Like, we talk about the NBA and we're like, "Oh, that rookie just got dunked on. Welcome to the league." Like, you don't see LeBron taking it easy on Wembenyama.
No.
And he's like a ridiculous prospect in the NBA.
The Knicks one years back when it was like Enes Kanter and I forget the rookie. Was it Quickly? Was it Emmanuel Quickly that year?
Yeah, it might have been.
Like Kanter got in his face and everything because
yeah,
like that whole thing. It's like LeBron is treating that dude like he's been there forever. Like it's not you. Like yes, you made it to the pros, but you're in the pros now. Like wake up. You know what I mean? Like there were a couple instances where some shit was a little whack, like the Kennedy Carter thing, or like you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a cheap shot.
Like
100%.
That's like away from the ball, away from the play. There's no point for it. Like that's stupid. Don't do that. And there's no reason. And like you look at her rap sheet as far as like her career, and it's like okay, you're just gonna be gone, and no one's gonna remember you except for this because you don't do anything as like professionally. And as a basketball player, you have not been like memorable at all. But it's like for Caitlin, she needs to take coaching.
Yeah.
Because that so far seems to be an issue. Genuinely, like she has kind of gotten a little full of herself from what it looks like. And then like just accept the fact it's like you have been put in this position now. You're gonna make so much money. Like everybody wants you to be the face of things. Just play the game. Like play the game as best you can, and you will keep that notoriety because like that's what got you here, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can use your voice anywhere. Like I don't care, but like you were so good in college, and that is literally why everybody wanted to follow you. So you're here now. Make sure you play with that same energy and tenacity, and don't like act like a weird like Bambi in the headlights. Like just focus up. You're not on the Olympic team, and that sucks because that's a pride thing. I totally get that because she's seeing peers that she played against go. I get that. It probably really sucks. Take it on the chin. Earn the shit out of it the next time the Olympics comes around. Like, make sure there's not a single chance in hell that they can omit you from that team. Like, it's that, and that's it. Like, I think everybody still respects her. It's just like all. Yeah. It's just like it shouldn't be all about her. There's a lot of other players that are really good and worth remembering. I mean, like we talked about that first guest appearance for me, like the Ionescu versus Curry 3-point contest. I'm like, shit like that is so important. And the fact that it was as good as it was like, that's just proof that there's plenty of players, man, that deserve the notoriety and attention and respect for their craft and how much they've honed it. It's not just her. And it is a shame because it's like, you could see it coming. You really could, because it's like women's college basketball was always kind of in the shadow of the men's, and then this year it was definitely above. I believe. I think you and
Right.
I agree on that.
I agree.
And that's a good thing because I think it should kind of go back and forth depending on who's actually playing,
Right.
not just the gender of the players. But we'll have to see how it all pans out. Obviously, it's early in her first professional season, so we need to see what kind of transpires with that. But yeah, it's just, and it's a good fucking team too. That's one of the other things. Like when you look at this roster, you're like, I mean,
That's
maybe
my thing.
Okay, well, I have a question for you. Would you or would you not have Brittany Griner on it?
So that is a big question because of the shit that went down for Brittany Griner. Now I will say I do think it was dumb that she was even like arrested and everything in Russia because she's played in Russia for like 7-8 years, and then the whole thing was over just a little bit of weed. Obviously, in the US, it wouldn't have been anything. But it is crazy that you like traded a prisoner to get her back and everything.
That's what I mean. It's like there's a story. There's two stories for her basically at this moment, right? It's like, okay, all this shit went down, and now you get to represent the USA who brought you home. Right. And in that sense, it's very storybook and looks very good. And then there's the other thing. There's the other side of it, where she just seems like a really unhappy, bitter human being. And it's like it. And then even like statistically, how's she doing this year? She's played 2 games.
Yeah, this year she hasn't done much just yet.
Yeah, she's played literally 2 games, and it says WNBA Commissioner's Cup. What is that?
Yeah. So it's like you know how the NBA put together the in-season tournament?
Is this they named it?
Yeah. They did it first. So the Commissioner's Cup has been around for like I think this is the 3rd year of the Commissioner's Cup.
At least they gave it a name.
Yes, I agree.
At least they gave it a name.
I agree. The Commissioner's Cup has actually been very fun to watch too throughout the WNBA season. But yeah, she just got back from, I forget, she had some sort of injury, but she just got back from that. Okay. But my thing is with this team, like, say you even take off Griner, they need another big. That's the thing.
Exactly.
And if I'm taking off Griner, I'm putting in Jonquel Jones. Yeah.
And I look at Griner like statistically over her career. It's like in that sense, I'd say she earned this. Like
right.
You know what I mean? It's just it's tough because I think there's a lot of PR navigating that they had to do, and I think the team they ended up selecting is excellent. Right. And I'm honestly kind of glad Caitlin Clark was left off because I just don't need to hear about this shit. Right. Because it's all these ladies, right? And then I know Brink made it as like a reserve or something, and then the girl that transferred from Louisville to LSU. What is her name?
Oh, so they're not on this team. They're on the 3-on-3 team.
Yeah, but it's like they're the fact that they even made it in that sense too. You know what I mean? It's like
So I will say the 3-on-3 team usually is either non-professionals or college players. So that's why you were thinking of Haley Van Lith.
Thank you. I knew it was Haley, but the last name was literally just not happening.
Yeah. So normally, like, if you look at the men's side, the U.S. team that made it over there, it's actually Jimmer Fredette and 3 guys that just like never made it in the NBA. Okay. And for the women's side, it's Jimmer. Haley. Yeah, I know. I love that Jimmer's playing.
I love it.
For the women's side, yeah, it's Cameron Brink because she played in the Olympic trials when she was still in college. Yeah. And so she was already like playing with that team while she was still in college. And
she was going to do a damn thing to her, by the way.
I know.
Like, I want to watch every single moment of that.
Yeah, the 3-on-3 is really fun because it's a nonstop clock, and like it's just literally just constant basketball, and it's really cool. But yeah, it's those two, and I think it was two others that are still in college as well.
Okay.
Like I know at one point actually, Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young both won gold for the 3-on-3 the last Olympics.
Okay, so 2020
Yeah.
or well, yeah, whenever they did it last,
Well, yeah,
because obviously the pandemic
2021
and shit.
technically.
Yeah.
And so they actually have the chance to become the first ones. Actually, maybe Jackie Young wasn't because they keep talking only about Kelsey Plum, but they have the chance to become the first to win golds in both basketball um, events. So yeah, the 3-on-3 kind of like is its own separate category, which I always wondered why not just kind of like use people from the other one. But either way,
I
yeah,
s-
Cameron
I
Brink made it
kind of
there.
I kind of like it because I don't want to call it like it's not like a minor league, but it almost is, right? Because
Right.
if you could have like
Like an
collegiate,
amateur.
yeah, and then now like if they ever end up um like on the official roster,
Yeah.
they've now had exposure to that environment and will not be as like horrified of playing
Agreed.
for your country. So it's in that sense, I think it will really help them grow.
Yeah. No, I
And I'll
agree.
definitely watch it because 3-on-3 is definitely, yeah, it's definitely a fun time.
And there's some underrated, especially. I mean, I've watched the men's 3-on-3 a little bit more than the women's. There's some underrated people on the 3-on-3 side for men's that like are known internationally, but not in America. And then you watch them play, and you're like, damn, they might be able to play in the league. um, but either way, the only person on this team that I could realistically be like, yeah, you could put Caitlin Clark over her is Chelsea Gray. And that's only because she has yet to play a single game in the WNBA this year.
And I
She
feel like
was,
that's fair.
yeah, she was on the Aces last season. She was part of the championship team. She was a big reason why they won. Chelsea Gray has been like unanimously one of the best leaders and point guards in the league for a long time now. Made the all WNBA second team last year, and has just been like a big vocal person for any team that she's on. And so like the whole thing to me is when the Team USA committee spoke up and said like we weren't thinking about sales and merchandise and all that, we were just thinking about making the best team. You people just assume you can throw any player, like take the top 10 best players, throw them on a team, and they're all going to be amazing. That like they think it's like
That's
2K.
never how it works.
Exactly. Look at the 2004 USA men's team. They threw Allen Iverson, Tim Duncan, like a rookie / first or second year LeBron and Wade and Melo and all those guys, and they ended up with a bronze, which was the first bronze they've gotten in a long time. So much so that they had to assemble the NBA Avengers in the next Olympics to redeem themselves. So like you can't just throw all these people on the same team and say, all right, there they are. Like, that's it. Just go do your thing. Just everyone play how you play. You have to mesh styles. You have to get people that fit next to each other. And
Exactly.
and like when it comes to women's basketball, there has been, I think, since the 2000 games, I was looking through, and I think it was like 6, maybe 7 rookies have played on Team USA in that time span.
Yeah.
And when you look at who the rookies were, it was like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, there was Swin Cash. There was also there's 2 others that I'm slipping right. Candace Parker. And
yes, they're
yeah,
literally all Hall of Famers. Like they're all
exactly.
like legends. Yeah, exactly.
Like Diana
It's-
Taurasi is about to go to her 5th Olympics, which is the most by any basketball athlete at the Olympics.
And it's just nice though that they were like, we just wanted to make the best team. We don't give a shit about sales, because that's what the Olympics is supposed to be.
Exactly.
You're representing your country to win. You're not here for clout. Like, you'll probably get some if you do win, but that's
Right.
the goal. And yeah, I respect that. And honestly, and it makes sense too though. It's like, it, given what we're looking at right here, it's Caitlin Clark would not fit into this. And with all the
Right.
like drama that's currently just kind of clouding around her, it would not help the team. It just would, like, just, you know what I mean? Like, that's just not a thing that ever helps a team win.
Exactly.
That kind of attention. It's like these ladies literally want to just go over there and work and win. And hopefully they can. I mean, the list of names is impressive. Like,
Yeah.
This is a squad.
Right.
And it's one of those, like, if Chelsea Gray really is that, like, was that pivotal in the Aces winning, there's no fucking way you replace her ever. Doesn't matter that she hasn't played in a WNBA game yet. It's like you know who she is and what she brings, and why would you ever pass on that?
Exactly. And you have, like, Kelsey Plum was the college points record holder before Caitlin Clark. She's now second all time. Jackie Young was the WNBA leading scorer last season. Asia Wilson was MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Brianna Stewart won 4 straight national championships, a gold medal, and a WNBA championship before the age of like 24.
That's actually ridiculous.
Brianna Stewart's basketball resume is probably the best basketball resume ever.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't need to explain Diana Taurasi.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all of these people on here, we've all seen Ionescu now. She's been amazing. Nafisa
Yep.
Collier has been in the running for MVP. Kalia Copper has been improved. Amazing player. Jackie Young, right there alongside Kelsey Plum in for the Aces as a great off-ball guard. Brittany Griner, her career, I'm just talking basketball for all the political people out there. Just talking basketball. Great basketball career. Alyssa Thomas putting up like 20 points a game. So all of these people have their reasons, and very good reasons, to be on this Olympic team. And the only argument that people have is like, well, they should put a rookie on there so she learns, or, oh, but they're fumbling a big business success and so on and so forth. It's the Olympics. It's not business.
Literally. The Olympics
It's go win
never,
a fucking gold.
The only thing, okay, it's only business for the host city.
Yes.
That's it. It doesn't matter where it is or when it. That is the only acceptable, like, hatred to say this is business for me. It's not. But if you're a competitor, you're a nation that is not hosting, and you're sending people there to compete. That's the goal. Everything else doesn't matter. You're going to sell merch. You already know you're going to sell merch. There's going to be jerseys for every team there. Men's soccer, women's soccer, basketball, all of it. They will get purchased. Like, and anything with anything like red, white, and blue on it is going to get purchased more during the Olympics. It's just a fact. So it's covered. Like, you don't need something that says Clark on the back. You really don't.
Exactly.
So
my main thing is, am I upset she's not on the team? No. Do I think she could have been on the team? Sure.
Yeah.
But the fact that people are up in arms, and now there's people saying like, oh, no Clark, I'm not watching the Olympics. I'm like,
that's just stupid.
I'm like, first off, you probably weren't going to watch anyway.
Exactly.
If you're really saying that, you weren't going to watch in the first place.
Well, and you know, I'll double down on that too. It's like, and if that's the case, then you weren't going to watch because you wanted to see her play basketball. You just look at her as like an object at this point.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean, for your amusement. That's not what she is. Like, she's a person that's trying to make it in a career that very few people actually get to be in because she earned it. But she has to earn the Olympics.
Yeah.
She's played 13 games as a professional, and the committee that selected this team did not think she was there yet. And to be honest, I agree. Like, I think there's too much going on. Just even in Caitlin Clark's life, there's so much fucking going on. It's like, would she have wanted to go? Sure, but I think in 4 years, when she's had some seasoning to deal with all this shit,
Right.
she'll go and she'll play better than she would now anyway, because she'll be a vet and she can actually just, it won't be some overwhelming thing. Like, she'll go there with pride, like wanting to win. It won't be about like, oh, I made the Olympics. It'll be she's there to get the job done. So
Exactly.
and I think in time she'll say the same damn thing. Like, especially if they go and do well. So
Agreed. With that being said, we can